Hey y'all, my name's Katie if you don't already know me, and welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how I got out, or what happened after I got out of the worst time of my life, and where I go from here, and how I eventually reached my rock bottom, or so I thought. I believe at the end of that, I explain how I got out of it. So after I got out of there that night, I went to stay in a hotel with my friend Shay. And I just remember getting there and being so far gone out of my mind. It was just unreal. Around this time, too, Chris had gotten out of jail for everything that had happened during the home invasion. He stopped pending charges, but he was out at this point. I don't think he was on probation. I can't remember. But to kind of bundle it all up, he got out, ended up going back, and then ended up getting out again on probation for all of it. I believe. And I'm gonna set this pen down so I don't continue to point. So anyway, I remember getting out of all of that and just wanting to find a safe place to stay. I didn't want to stay on the same side of town that Amanda and Blake were, so I found a weekly stay on the other side for myself. Now, the only way I was able to afford this was because, okay, now the only way I was able to afford this was because the guy that helped me get out, call him Michael. Michael had given me some money to help me get started and just be safe, have a roof over my head, and be able to eat and whatnot. Well, that's a nice gesture and all, but for a heroin addict, that's not going to get me very far. So I'm staying in this hotel, weekly stay, and I'm thinking, how am I going to make money? Because I'm not comfortable with standing. First of all, it's hard to go back to that because before that I was doing the sugar baby thing. Um, it was hard to go back to that knowing that I could make 3 days worth of standing money, in 30 minutes. Like, no. But I also was having a hard time being comfortable with the sugar baby thing because the people I had met were through Blake and Amanda before they actually took me to where they were living and, you know, put me in that situation. That's what all that I thought that she did. And I also didn't know that there were other girls involved and other girls stuck in that situation. I carry a lot of guilt for leaving them there, Amanda and the other girls. See, and Amanda was raised in a cult. I've always felt so terrible for her because I feel like in her mind she doesn't realize how terrible that situation actually is. As I'm trying to figure it out, Michael is continuing to feed my addiction, keep a roof over my head, food, the whole nine. Now, he doesn't know I'm an addict, but yeah, he's giving me money every few days. It just didn't suffice. So of course, I needed more. So as much as he tried, I mean, that poor man put himself in debt for me. So I got back to doing that. Now, with the sugar baby thing, it's hard to maintain a relationship like that. Men are just so ridiculous. And I had gotten in my head that, like, I knew what I was worth, so You know, I wouldn't even go out to dinner with you for less than so many thousand. You know what I mean? So that causes a lot of issues. It's not like people say, oh, I just need to get me a sugar daddy. Girl, I'm telling you something. It is not as black and white as it may seem, and it's not as simple as it may seem. It's a contract between two people, and he has to uphold, and so does the baby. It's, you know, on both ends. So that can be very difficult to find something that works for both people. And of course, when you're a heroin addict, something I didn't say that's kind of important, when I was in the home with Blake, Amanda, and the other girls, Blake was giving us cocaine and heroin. He would give us cocaine to keep us up and working as much as he wanted us to. Sometimes we would work 20 hours, and then he would give us good doses of heroin to put us out with so we could get some sleep. So now I'm addicted to both, and I think I need both. I have to have both. And I definitely have to have both in order to continue with what I started to do next. Because I was having such a hard time getting the sugar baby situation under control. I had like two sugar daddies that I had worked something out with, but it was just a little shaky. You know, it was kind of like I was getting to know one of them, and Michael was like having a hard time keeping up with my allowance. So I was in such a terrible mental state doing the drugs and dealing with what I had just went through and dealing with Chris being around me and not knowing what to believe about if he was involved that night. Alright, y'all, so I know I look crazy as hell, but I wanted to address what I say right here because I say I did not know if he was involved that night or anything. I'm not going to get into too much detail on it, but I wanted to just explain that night in my mind and some of my memory. I remember him getting robbed with me and trying to protect me. Um, he told them that he would take a bullet for me, and I remember that. But when the police got there, they say he was in the bathroom with me, beating me up, stringing me around. There was blood all over the ceiling and everything. And I know he had busted his hand, but I was so traumatized this night that for a long time I could not recount the memory. I wasn't sure exactly what had happened. So I just wanted to put this in here so y'all could get a better understanding of the whole situation I was going through when it came to Chris and the home invasion and why, if he was involved, he was staying with me, and why, if he wasn't involved, they were saying they were because it was in the police report. That night, I had already gotten in my mind that I wasn't worth more than someone would pay for me. And I knew that I could get a lot of money off of just me and my body. So I decided to start escorting because if anybody was going to make money off of me, it was going to be me. So that's what I did. But I would not do anything without shooting up cocaine right before I met with anyone or right before I walked out the door, whether it was dates or sexual. And then I would do heroin to go to sleep because that's what I was taught on how to make this work and how to deal with it. Then I realized that if you mix it together, well, it's a whole new, different high and right on its own. Y'all, to be honest, I was having a complete mental breakdown. I had no self-worth. If you didn't have money in your hand, well, you didn't mean anything to me. And even if you still had money in your hand, you still don't mean shit. You're just my means to get what I need. And if I gotta take 15 minutes out of my time to do something I really hate to do, and then have the rest of the day to do whatever the fuck I want, have a stack of cash, and get high and forget the world, and go off and be by myself and wallow in a room because I'm terrified of anything else, that's what I was gonna do. So, that's what I did. Now, I'm not gonna get into too many details on any of this either because, it's very deep and very personal to me and something that I still struggle with. You know, I can't believe I'm telling this to the world like this. I remember telling Matt I never wanted anyone to know. I never wanted anyone to know my past, what I've been through, what I've done. I'm so ashamed of who I was. He has been my biggest blessing. If it wasn't for him, I would not have the courage to sit here and do this. I do this because I know there's other people just like me, other women just like me, who have been abused mentally, physically, sexually, who had no self-worth, who've been used, who've struggled with addiction. I mean, all of it. And I do this to let y'all know you're not alone. I've been there to the deepest parts of hell. And now I'm here. You know, I'm a straight A student, a nurse, I'm sober, I have a family, a wonderful husband. Now I'm living the dream. And yeah, shit happens. But let me tell you what, after you've been through what I've been through, the heavy shit don't feel so heavy. As time went on, I had built up my clientele, and I only had like a good handful or so of men that I would see. And I had gotten comfortable with that. I remember having to move weekly stays every couple of months because they knew that something illegal was going on, but they could never catch me. Remember as time went on, Chris being around, he would just get so hateful and mentally and physically abusive. He expected me to continue to provide for him and feed his addiction as well. He had me trapped in that for a long time. I didn't even want to be around him. I didn't trust him. But I didn't want to be alone either. when it come to, going to sleep at night and feeling secure, having another body there with me to know that I wasn't going to fight it alone is what made me keep him there. But anyway, I remember having to move all the time. And we ended up having to move to a weekly stay about 45 minutes outside of the center of Nashville. It was still the metropolitan area, but it was a good little drive out. And it shook my clientele because it was out of the way from, you know, their daily travel, a good bit out of the way. So it made everything difficult, it made my money difficult, everything. So now I hadn't been dope sick since I left the hospital. This is probably 7, 8 months later. And waking up and feeling the edge of being dope sick again, and I just know that I should have never moved out here to this place, and things are crumbling on me. Oh, and I don't know how to fix what I felt I had already fucked up. So I decided to work back on my sugar daddies. That I needed to just do dates and get back to a set allowance. I told myself if I could get 5 or 6 sugar daddies, that would be smooth sailing. I'd be getting thousands, okay, tens of thousands every week, and be able to get high, pay my bills, do whatever I wanted, and continue to get my nails done and my hair done, and keep a rental car, and yada, yada, yada. But Chris wasn't so patient. I don't want to make him look like a monster because I don't believe he is one. He's been through a lot too personally, and drugs make you a different person. But this is just one of his downfalls and his addiction, and I just so happen to have to be there to experience it. He had put me through a lot, but I'll never forget the escorting, the PTSD from the home invasion, the sex trafficking, and escorting and prostitution in the home really started to weigh on me. I had no self-worth anymore. None. When I was in the sex trafficking prostitution ring, I fought to get out of there because I knew I didn't belong there. But now, about 6 to 8 months later, I realized that I went right back to it on my own. It wasn't sex trafficking, but I had a man pulling the strings, making me make money for him. When that realization came to me, I knew I wanted out. I just, I realized that I was so far from myself. So I remember telling Chris, this is it for me. I'm gonna get a handful of sugar daddies, and I'm gonna get back into rehab. I'm done. I can't do this. I can't live like this. And I remember him being so angry. I remember telling him I hated the way he treated me. I didn't feel good about myself. That I had just got out of a situation like that to get right back into it. And I walked myself into this one. I developed it for myself, for him. And I couldn't even understand why I was doing it. And I remember he made me see someone He told me that he wasn't going to wait on me to figure my shit out. Oh, I had also told him that I wanted him to leave, that I was going to give him X amount of days. I would make sure that he had some money, but he needed to go. No, 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 no. He was not going for it. So he forced me to see someone, told me he wasn't going to be sick, and I better make sure that it was for an hour because of the amount of money that came with it. So I did, and I remember it was one of my regulars, and he knew that Chris was around, but he didn't really understand the situation. So I remember him coming to see me, and I want to insert right here and say that there's a misconception to escorts. It's not all about sex. A lot of people come to you because they want companionship without a sugar baby situation. I will say 50% or more men, that is what they want. They want companionship. They want someone to talk to, make them feel cared about. And so, because of that, they start to care for the escort. So, with that being said, I had this guy, let's call him John, just because John, so we'll call him John. And I remember him coming to see me and realizing how upset I was. And we sat down and just had a glass of wine and talked. And when the time was up, we were still talking. I remember my phone going off over and over, text message, text message, text message. And I check and it's Chris. And he's telling me time's up. It's 5 minutes over. And he better get the fuck out because Chris was coming in. And I'm like, okay. And Chris had a key, so I knew he could get in. So I'm telling John, like, all right, sorry, you gotta go. Like, he's being crazy. Chris literally, not 30 seconds later, bust open the door. Now, I can't imagine the fear that was in John because, these men have lives. The last thing they want is a hostile situation or something to come of this to have to explain it to their family. But I remember him just like running out the door. And Chris said, I told you the fucking time was up. And I told him to go away. And he asked me where his fucking money was. I threw it on the table. And I remember we were arguing at the door and I slammed the door in his face. I just wanted him to go away. I was over the mental and physical abuse. Now, I'll say the physical abuse before this point was not bad. It wasn't good, and it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it okay, but it wasn't like I wasn't getting like hit in the face and shit like that, or kicked or punched. I was just kind of getting thrown around and stuff like that. But he pushed that door back open and come after me, and he slapped me so hard across my face. It was like in a movie. I could feel my whole face just when he hit me. And I remember just holding my cheek, being like, oh my God. I just remember looking at him. And he come at me to say sorry, and I told him not to touch me. And he slapped me on the other side. So now I'm just holding both my face, and he's coming at me. So I back myself into a corner beside the fridge. Oh, and I remember us yelling and screaming at each other, and I told him to leave. I was done. Either he left or I did. He told me he wasn't leaving, so I tried to grab my purse. He told me I wasn't leaving him either. I didn't have a choice. And he continued to hit me, push me into the wall. I can't remember how. I know things were hostile, but I know I ended up on the floor. And he was kicking me. And then I rolled and hit my head on the bed. And he told me to get up. And I'm crying, crying, crying my eyes out. Just saying, please leave. I can't do this. He tells me to get up off the floor and dust myself off and fix my makeup so I can make his fucking money. So I did. If I didn't come to the realization that I had walked myself right back into the situation I tried so hard to get out of, I realized it this day. I wanted to get sober and get out of this now more than ever. I know I'd said it before, but at this moment, this was my rock bottom. Or so I thought. So this part was long enough. So I'm going to end this video right here, y'all. In the next one, I'm going to get to my real rock bottom. And not too long after that, you'll see what actually got me sober. Can't believe we're already getting here. Thank you guys for all the love and support and sticking around. And thank you if you're new here. Make sure to find find chapter 1 and watch them all the way through so you can understand this video to begin with. Anyways, please remember not to share any hate anywhere, especially on my channel. I love you guys.